dancers, welcome to another tutorial. Today we're going to be talking about playing Zills. If you're new to Zills, this is a really great place to start. We're going to be covering all of the basics, but even if you have been playing Zills already, I know a lot of dancers really struggle with playing and dancing and playing consistently, so stick around because there might be some tips that will help you too. So the very first thing we're going to talk about is elastic and securing your Zills. So most Zills, don't ask me why, most Zills come with this crappy black elastic. And even if you have very dark skin, this is usually too dark. I don't know why this has become the standard, but it makes so much more sense and it looks so much nicer when you have, I'll show you mine, when you have something on your Zill that is flesh colored. And here's a tip too. If you start with a light colored elastic, you can use colored markers or makeup to match them to your skin tone. And I actually put makeup on these a while ago. This was white, so they're a little too light actually, but all you have to do is just reapply that makeup or marker every once in a while, like every couple years maybe. Oh no, now it's stuck on my fingernail and it's not coming off. Ow. Ugh. Okay, so this, just get rid of it. I hate that. It's my hugest pet peeve. Or even worse, if your Zills came with this, just, that Zill is going to stay on your hand for like 0.2 seconds and it's going to fall right off or it's going to fly into somebody's face. This is all you need. You can get this, I think it's like $4 from Joann's. You could probably get it online for even cheaper. It is 1/2 inch or 3/4 inch ballet elastic. And guess what? I'll open the package for you. It is skin tone. Look at that. So much nicer. And for me even, it's still a little tiny bit light. So like I said, just go over it, match it to your skin tone because you don't want to have a big old like stripe on your fingers. Shortens the line of your hands, it distracts from the Zill just immediately. The second thing that I'll talk about, so with mine, these are very large. I don't recommend these for beginners. You need to get a small set for beginning, but even so, the elastic should be wider than the slot inside. So I don't know if you'll be able to see the difference there, but you can sort of see how wide the slat in the middle is. And this is actually 1/2 inch. Or no, this is 1/2 inch, so this is 3/4 inch. So 1/2 inch, 3/4. Do not mess with anything that's less than, what did I say, 1/2 inch. Just don't even bother with that. So when you put on your Zills, they're gonna look like this. And you want to make a little hamburger or a little flying saucer. So in other words, that the Zills face each other. They're on the middle finger and the thumb. And you have 3 basic strikes that you can do. There's plenty of other sounds, but these are your basic ones. You have a clap, click, and a ring. That's probably really loud on that camera, so I'm not going to be ringing a whole lot today because these are meant for stage or for playing through class. They're very loud. So the biggest mistake that a lot of people make when they're either teaching or learning to play Zills is they learn a pattern and they practice it sitting down, and then they stand up and they try to just immediately put that pattern on top of whatever they are doing. That is almost never going to work. We're going to start to learn right from the get-go, moving and playing. So I'm going to adjust my camera, go ahead and clear yourself a little space, and we are going to try it together. To sew on your elastics, you are first just going to thread your elastic ends through the top of your Zill. So if you have your slat like this, you want the loop to be on the top, of course, where your finger's going to go. Now measure it. All I do is you're going to pull it nice and tight on the bottom, and then you're going to mark with a pencil on the inside where the elastic should be sewn together tight. And you need the Zills to be quite tight. 1, they're going to loosen over time. 2, they're heavy and they need a lot of security so they don't go flying off. This is another reason to use thicker elastic than what they come with in the package. Alright, so pull it so that it's really nice and tight. It should fit between your first knuckle and your fingernail. So you don't want it to be like way down here and certainly not at the very end of your finger. Once you've done that, you're going to take your finger out of the loop, you're going to pull it through, and you'll see your little pencil marks where you measured it. And then you're going to not just sew it like this, you're going to fold it again towards the raw edges so that the edge is like this. You're going to sew through all 4 of those layers. I don't know how well you can see that. You're going to just hand stitch back and forth. It's not hard. Don't be scared. You just get a needle, get a thread, back and forth. I go across and then back, and then I tie off, and then I tie the remaining string to the first piece. So when you put the sewing needle through and then the knot and then the little piece that's sticking out, I tie it into that little piece as well. So it goes all the way across, all the way back, and then you tie the 2 ends together. And then you're going to either use a lighter to seal these frayed edges, or just use super glue, which is the exact same thing as, what is it called, fray check. So fray check, super glue, and point glue are all the same thing, just FYI. So you can use any of those. You can also use nail polish. And that's it. It seriously takes like 5 minutes per Zill, so you'll be done in 20 minutes. It's not a big deal. Please don't use safety pins. Please don't just tie it off. You need to sew it so that it's secure. I've seen people lose their Zills, fly off, and hit someone in the face. You don't want that. You don't want that. That's not good. Now the very first thing that we're going to do is a basic hip bump, and we're just going to keep time with our Zills. You don't need any music. We'll do this a cappella. And let's just go first position with a hip lift or a hip bump, your choice. And we'll go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and double 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8. I want you to do that until you just like, your head explodes. Then we're going to try a few other basic things. I'm not going to just like do it with you because that produces a really, really long video. I'm going to show you the exercises that I have my students do in class, and then you can practice on your own time. So do those hip lifts, hip bumps, do your double time and whole time, do your shimmies, then add a walk. So just start with the feet at first. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and back, 2, 3, 4. Then add the hips, etc., etc. Then you're going to build up to adding a shimmy and a walk and all these other things. And it may seem so easy that you just think like, what is the point of this? But the reason we're doing this is to develop the coordination to keep tempo with the fingers while we are distracted by other dance things. Zills have to become like an autopilot thing where it's part of your brain that's focusing on the music and you just put it on autopilot, like I said. So once you feel super confident with that, like you could try any sort of basic movement and just keep tempo with your Zills. You could even do soft movement like a hip circle, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just get used to that idea. When you've done that a few times and you feel pretty confident, then we'll move on to a little bit more complicated. So we've done whole time and double time. We're going to talk about 3/4 time, which then becomes the gallop or the longa. So that sounds like and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. And I am going to play it a little quieter while I'm talking so you can hear me. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. Now before we go on, since we're starting to work with uneven rhythms now, we're going to talk about the biggest second mistake that people make when learning and playing Zills, which is that they have this idea, I think it originated from learning the beats from drummers, where because you're producing different sounds, you do have to do doubles on one hand. So, you know, this is my imaginary drum. Like if you're doing melody, doom, doom, tek, tek, doom, tek, tek, then people were playing Zills, they were learning doom, doom, tek, tek, doom, tek, tek. When you're playing Zills, the same sound, there's no need for that. If you play an advanced pattern with sound changes, like if you're going, then yes, it matters. But most people are never going to need to play at that level. Most people are going to just play a standard strike. It's completely unnecessary. It's so much more complicated to learn right, 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 left, right, right, left, right. The other thing that happens is one hand gets overdeveloped, the other hand gets underdeveloped. The way that I play, the way that I learned to play, that finally clicked for me is that you don't have to worry about that. When I'm doing gallop, for example, I'm just going to do and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. So every time I hit my zill, the next sound is just going to be on the other one. This produces the ability to play faster, more evenly, and it's a lot easier to start dancing with it because you're not thinking in your head, right, right, left, right, 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 left, right. You're just thinking of the sound, which you're also hearing. So you're responding to something you're hearing naturally, as if you're just like tapping it out on, your steering wheel or your legs or the desk or whatever. Same exact thing. So when I play gallop or longa, we're going to do right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So let's try it with hip work. What I like to start with is just a hip bump. Once again, it's going to be a little harder this time though, because we're going to be playing and a while we're performing the step. So it's and a bump, 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 and a bump. Let's go back, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. Try that with a few other things. Try it with, say, a hip drop, for example. And a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, and a 4. Try it with your shimmy, softer hip movements. The whole idea, like I said, is to get used to playing and moving at the same time.